Welcome back to RGR Football. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL and how they fit in it. This has been a tough one for me. I've debated back and forth about doing this video, and it's going to be just slightly different as we look at Frank Clark on film. And it's not something that you always see from the broadcast. There's a lot of detail here that really illustrates how I feel about where he's at right now. And if you've heard the show the last week or two, you have an idea of where I feel that he is and what's going on. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and sub and hit the bell notification now so you hear more as we get further down the line. This last quarter of the season heading into the playoffs is going to be uber important, and it's something that we saw last season for Frank Clark become the time that he flipped the switch. That's important for how they're going to go forward as well, because it feels like it's a waiting game, that you're doing the same thing in the same kind of spot, waiting for Frank to turn it on. And because it's he and Chris Jones really leading this front four, nothing against the other guys, but they are the two pass rushers. Tano Pasio, Mike Dana, they're playing the edge fairly well in terms of the run, but we're not seeing pressure come from those positions. We're not seeing things that can actually get to the passer other than standard bull rushes that can collapse some of the pockets. And that's helpful, but that doesn't get the job done. And so there are a lot of things here that we have to take a look at with what's going on specifically with Frank Clark. Because right now, it's not enough for them to continue once they get into this playoff push against teams that are able to protect better in general. There's a lot of aspects to it, and it's not consistent. That's the thing that really breaks down for me, is it's not consistent that he isn't moving well, or he is, or that he's rushing it with a plan of attack, or he isn't. This is really up in the air, and I do feel at the end of the day, if you haven't heard the other streams, I do feel that there is something physically not 100% with Frank Clark. We heard about a knee just for a blip there a couple of weeks ago, and I think that there's more to it than that. We're going to take a look at how they go through, and you can see from the labels that I put on these particular plays what it shows. And there's some other incidents we're not going to get too into on Thornhill, but you saw him there just for a second just to show you. This is a play that we'll look at a little bit deeper, but shows that there's still some things that can be done by Frank Clark, that there are times when he's able to make a difference. And I think, again, it's about getting healthy. So at this point, I think we should probably just take a look at some of the specifics. I'm not going to get into the normal breakdown where it's really, really detailed, but I want to show you the differences here. And we're going to start with what was kind of an interesting one. This is a breakdown against the Denver Broncos, but it's also a really good measuring stick because the Denver Broncos aren't that great of an offensive line. Dotson and Bowles, while they're both playing a little bit better, I think Bowles is actually using his feet better this season than he has in the past, but he's still not a formidable tackle. He still isn't somebody that should be giving Frank Clark any kind of trouble whatsoever, yet he did. And interestingly enough, you'll see a lot of snaps here where Frank Clark was actually being blocked by a tight end and Noah Fant, who is a pass-catching, down-the-field kind of a guy, not known for his blocking whatsoever. And this is Frank down here at the bottom of the screen. And this is a play where you're going to see him go up against somebody that he should be beating rather handily. We'll let this run at full speed, and it's because the block is missed. It's a nice TFL. He gets in the backfield and does make that tackle for loss. He is an experienced veteran who understands how the play works. But you have to give some of the aspect to right here. He's a step off and into the gap before Noah Fant even is really coming out of his stance. This is a nice get-off by Frank, and it shows that when he has an idea of what he's doing, where he's going, he does have the ability to still come off the ball, and he actually tracks here. I mean, this is a good 3 yards between him and Lindsey. Lindsey's a quick guy, and yet Frank's able to track him down in the backfield. Thanks to the rest of the defense, Lindsey had to cut a little bit, and that did help Frank make the play, but this shows you that there are some things that he can still do. And that's true for this play as well. This is something that I think really shows that he knows this game, and he's getting by right now on his knowledge. As we roll this forward, you're going to see what I'm talking about. Comes off the ball and is able to get around. This is a little tight end screen. So again, this is Noah Fant blocking him. In the next angle, we'll see it a little bit better. And you'll see that Fant is going to pseudo block over here as he's about to go out in the route. And so that phantom block just allows Frank, again, to accelerate. So he shows that he can accelerate and go attack the ball as Drew Lock's trying to deliver the screen. We'll slow this down just a touch. And Frank is right here, just his shoulder in the frame. As he comes around, Fant gives him just a patty cake kind of block and lets him have the edge because he's slipping underneath to get this tight end screen. Little leak pattern. And Frank gets up, almost gets his hand on it, forces a higher throw, which does slow Fant down. But that's because Frank was able to accelerate, and it looked fairly good. He's never been a speed rusher, but it is something that he's been able to do. Now, for all that, this is a completely different play as he's just trying to rush Garrett Bowles. And this is one of those things that I'm not sure exactly where he's going with this. As we slow this down so we can see Frank lined up here on the right, as he takes off, he dips inside. And I think this is more of an assignment issue than it is an effort issue. He looks like he pauses here due to the back, leaving the backfield. You see right here, Frank Bowles, Lindsey. And as he comes out of his stance, watch his feet. Little stutter right there. He's not trying to push up field. He kind of stabbed to the inside, comes back outside, and it looks almost like he's looking past Bowles' shoulder at what Lindsey's doing. And Lindsey does release to that side, and now he hasn't gotten into Garrett Bowles' pads. He hasn't tried to long arm him. He hasn't tried to do any real move. He's really kind of reading the situation. So I think this is more about assignment, is that he had a little bit of outside contain. In case that ball had gone quick toss to Lindsey or something like that, he would have been responsible. Now, this is a play that bothers me. Again, this is Frank down here, playing on the right-hand side against Noah Fant. And you'll see that this just doesn't come off in a way that it should have. That looks wrong in a lot of ways. Yes, there's pressure on the other side. But for a tight end to be able to stymie him on an inside move where he's already kind of got the edge. You see the splits here are pretty tight. Just a little bit extra space here from where Fant is. And that's enough. That is enough for Frank Clark to get in there. And you'll see that it's pretty much a straight rush, but rather than putting his hands on Fant, moving him around in either a bull or some kind of whip, he doesn't even do a rip underneath, which he could have, certainly, as we watch this come off. That's something he should have been able to rip through and get into Drew Lock. He didn't. I'm not sure what that means in terms of his physicality, but again, we'll slow this down and take a look at it here. This should be a play where Frank Clark should be able to get in there, rip under, and actually affect the quarterback, but we don't see that happening. As he comes through, it's just kind of a half-hearted rip there. And I don't know if it's because the expectation is the ball's going to be out, but that's not what we're looking for your best pass rusher. Now, the nice thing is, when we back that up yet again, pay attention to Juan Thornhill, who's also been beleaguered lately. He did have a tough time covering a run here in this game, but he actually gets back and makes a decent play on this one, and I think it shows you his athleticism. He has to responsibility down, but is able to turn it around, track with the receiver, and here he may be just a step behind, but the ball's out, and he's able to make a play on it. Nearly got it. And I think there's still some upside to Juan Thornhill as well. He's not as hurt as I maybe had thought. And here's the play that I think culminates everything. You have Frank Clark down here. You have Juan Thornhill up here. And the reason I bring up Juan Thornhill is because he, too, seems to be moving like his injury has either had a setback or he's had something else go on. The bye week was certainly a turning point. But he does have moments where he's able to be his athletic self. This isn't quite 100%, but this resembles more like where we expect him to be right now. It is very situational for both of these players. Frank down here, Juan here, as we watch this play fast, he ducks under, is able to defeat that hand and get his hand on Drew Lock as the ball's delivered. And if you missed it as you were looking at Frank Clark over here, watch what Thornhill is doing. He's looking like he's single high here, right? But the initial snap, everybody knows that it's going to split here. Drew Lock certainly knew it was coming. But so Juan Thornhill's edging out. But watch his reaction to this play. He's taking his space, turns his hips nicely, and is able to nearly get back underneath that ball. Now, was that breakneck speed? No, it wasn't. But it is something that shows that he still has some of his ability there. I just think that There's some lingering stuff going on with both of these players. Now, we want to focus back on Frank here for this last one, and that is because this looks more like the Frank that we expect. He's going to get a pretty good start. He's going to defeat the hands, and hand fighting is key. Since the days of Tom Bahali, this has been shown to Chiefs fans over and over and over, but it is something that has been slowing down as of late, and this is the key to this particular rush. As you see him come off, bam, he gets underneath and slaps that away and makes the play happen right there because of it. I'm going to slow it down a little bit, and I wish this goalpost wasn't in the way, but it is what it is. And as they come off, watch Frank's hands attack Bull's shoulder and his stab. Right here, he's kicking, and as Bowles goes to reach, Frank has his hand, catches it in midair actually, and is able to slap it away, down, and get underneath it. Now his shoulder is now between Bowles' chest plate and his far arm, which means Frank's home. He can either get the hold or he can attack and actually get to the quarterback. And as he does, he gets his arm around and actually makes contact just as the ball is leaving. That's a nice play by Frank Clark and something that, quite frankly, they need to see more of. It is something that we haven't seen enough, and I hope that they can repeat this. I hope that he's going to improve and actually get back to his full health. That's it for me today. If you like the channel, make sure you like and subscribe and do the whole bell notification thing. We're going to have more for this, and it's a developing situation we're going to have to watch with Frank Clark and Juan Thornhill. Thanks for watching today. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.